So, hello everyone, and welcome to Writing Female Characters. I'm very excited to have all of you here. As I said at the top of the show, and I'll say it again to reiterate, I'm super fine with questions. I love note-taking. If you have any concerns, anything like that, you actually can address them to me and not punch this very handsome man on my left. So, let's go over a few brief introductions. My name is Amanda, that is my human name. I'm known as Aichi Yume in the panel world, and I have a blogging name as well. And I am a writer, generalized otaku, and I'm a huge fan of good storytelling. I come from a university that does not disappear in the night. I graduated with a double major and with honors, and I'm also a professional writer and social media manager in the advertising industry. I don't say these things because I'm an elitist. I say these things because I want to instill in you guys a certain level of confidence and hope that I know what I'm talking about. I definitely came from an older era of panels where anyone could kind of get up on stage and say a lot of things that don't necessarily make sense. However, I do think it's important to tell you guys that these opinions, while they may differ from yours, do come from a place of research, methodology, and some level of thought. That makes sense? Cool. So I do want to go over a couple of things because I am of opinions. They are my own, and I by no means mean to offend anyone. I have a very stern sounding voice, so it sounds like everything I say is law, not necessarily. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine, and I'll sort of quote Kill Bill a little bit. As long as you do so in a respectful manner, I will allow you to disagree with me. Thank you for laughing at the Kill Bill reference. And any media examples I bring up are not intended to cause fan strife. I do tend to sometimes harp on certain characters, and that's not meant to be like, I'm attacking your ship. That's not what I'm trying to do. I write these things when I get home from work, and it's like, I really don't like this one particular example, and I don't mean to do that for personally anyone. It's definitely just how I'm feeling when I work on this stuff. Good? So, I chose this topic because, surprisingly, I get this question a lot. I run a lot of writing focus panels, and one of the big ones that I get is, well, how do you write female characters? And for me, being biologically female, it's never been a huge challenge for me. So it's always interesting that I get that question a lot. But it actually did start off with a conversation on DeviantArt. Yes, I'm old, and I used to go on DeviantArt. And this is actually the response that I gave when I was in a DeviantArt chat room. And I will let you guys read that very, very briefly. I love everything that you do. So yeah, that essentially wraps up my philosophy on why we're covering this topic. Is this egregious to you in any way? Ready to get started? So let's get down to actual business. We're going to try to become better writers, better stewards of our female characters. I mean, it's literally half the population of the earth, so it's about, high time that we learn how to write engaging and relatable female characters. You ready to have a little bit of fun? Yeah! The first step I would always advise is just imagine women complexly. And I don't mean to sound like a weird Tumblr feminist when I say this. Occasionally, male writers, and even some female writers, will kind of put women on a pedestal, that they're too precious or too good or too anything to have flaws or negative attributes. Just imagine them complexly. Again, it's not a binary of exuberant excitement or absolute misery all of the time. Your character will probably have good days and bad days. They will love and they will hate, and they will feel everything in between those things. And as soon as you start imagining your female characters complexly as people and not just woman, it will suddenly make things a little bit easier. Think of your friends. Think of the people that you engage with. Or do they ever act like Kagome from Inuyasha? If they do, you're probably not going to be friends with them for very long. I write this so I can definitely emphasize is do not be afraid. I know there's a lot of concerns with representation and wanting to capture the story correctly. There are some writers that still feel like only women can write female characters. There is that old French school of feminism that believes that. I don't. So if you are already in this panel, you've already taken the first step, male or female or whatever. you've already taken the first steps into not being scared. And I want to instill in you a certain level of confidence that you can do it, don't be scared, and just, yeah, when you approach it with a certain level of confidence, when you take the monolith out of it, it suddenly isn't as difficult. We'll get into some more practical tips in a minute, but this is sort of the soft, fluffy, I believe in you part of it, because I know this is a bit of a touchy subject for people occasionally, because I know for me, being a longtime old comic book and anime fan, females are not always represented in the best way, so it is sometimes a little bit daunting, even for me, when I approach my own female characters. It is like, I try so hard to make them everything that I didn't like as a child that I almost ruin them occasionally. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to have a little bit of confidence in yourselves. Again, you're already taking the first steps if you're here to go on a journey of being a stronger writer. Good? Especially when it comes to female characters, I cannot emphasize enough to build genuine tension. We have a lot of series that all of the tension and all of the conflict will go to the males. And that tends to leave the females in these weird kind of lopsided, your battle is over this small fluffy kitten. And it kind of deflates all of the ethos of this series. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your female character will always be moving mountains by herself. That's totally fine. I know I don't want to move a mountain. I would probably pay someone to do that. However, at least have it be on par with what you're going for or what you're already writing. Again, if you go out of your way to level the difficulty to your female characters, you sort of put a giant bullseye on her face. Like, I already think you're weaker and less substantial than the main and you can't handle it. And trust me, your readers will notice that. Fair? I definitely encourage that your female characters should be more than just fodder to pair off. As a young lady who has a lot of male friends that have a lot of platonic relationships, it's frustrating that there's this idea that female characters always need to pair off immediately. I'm pushing 30, and my family is still scandalized when it's like, oh yeah, I'm sharing a hotel room with a couple guys at Con. Like, what are you doing in there? It's like, nothing that you think is happening. We're probably playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it is not half as exciting as you think what kind of weird 50 Shades of Grey thing is going on. I can guarantee you we're playing Soul Calibur. So, your female characters are allowed to have friends with boys. Gasp! They're allowed to be friends with girls. Additional gasp. And they are also allowed to love. We're gonna get there, but they are allowed to love. But definitely, there seems to be this interesting like pairing chart where you have to, like, for every male character there's a female that they have to go off with, and it's like, but they were friends. They can stay friends. That's fine. I didn't know that I was obligated to pair off with every guy that I've ever interacted with in my entire life. That sounds like it's going to be difficult and messy, and I have a lot of phone calls to make. Any questions, concerns, or comments so far? No? Yeah.
Also tying back to the attention thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a female and male character that both kind of lead, how do you avoid sexual tension becoming like the major conflict, the major tension point for a female character?
Don't sexualize the pairing. Like, if that's what your concern is, then you've already done it. Because there's plenty of times where it's like, there's two people going towards a goal and I'm not thinking of my boner, like that kind of thing. If you are worried about that, then you've already written it in. So it's going to sound a little bit flippant, and I don't mean to say it sound like that, but don't. Again, you can definitely want to emphasize platonic relations, or just, again, friendly banter. You can be towards a goal and not be worried about wanting to smash the other person. That's a suspension of disbelief thing for me, that it's like, if we're on the side of a mountain, and there is a likelihood that we're both going to die, and I need you to survive, my sex drive is the last thing that I'm thinking about. It's, I need you to fight lions. So there is no sexual tension there. Nothing's happening. I need you for food, and to possibly use you as a blanket if something terrible were to happen, like bears in Bay Camp. Does that make sense? Like, I hate that I sound so flippant, but you know? You got it? Yeah.
So in a sense, you're meaning like kind of considering them as if they were like friends that were of the same sex. Like don't think of it as like you compare them off necessarily. Just think don't think about sexual part of it. Just like
Right, or not even just, like, I'm not just talking sexually, or just love pairings. It tends to be, female main character, oh, I already have a crush on this guy. Think of, like, Rurouni Kenshin, where, like, Kenshin saves Miss Kaoru, and, like, immediately, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. It's like, can you at least get the blood off your face? Like, you were just saved. Have a moment of character development before you rush into that kind of relationship. You can completely platonically be friends with people before you even go on like some kind of weird one-sided crush or want to pursue a physical relationship with them. That's more what I mean. And like, I love that I have Carlos here to my side. We've been friends for like 7 years. It does not get more platonic than this. And I'm not even being like tsundere or ironic about it. So I am someone who has a lot of guy friends. I have a lot of male friends. So it's always weird to me that it's like, oh, if you have a lot of guy friends, you probably want to date at least one. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. That was not a memo that I received, that I am obligated now to date at least one of you. You know what I mean? Cool. Any other questions? Yay. Guys' clothing options. There is this still a bit of a desire to put women in the most obtuse outfits that I have ever seen in my entire life. Pants are great, guys. And especially if you're going to do some kind of like strange post-apocalyptic Hunger Games-y kind of thing, she ain't going to be running around in a pencil mini. It's just not happening. If you ever do want to do a character study on female fashion, video games are great for that. I also really will occasionally look at actual fashion magazines and then basically say, well, this is what not to do. So don't be afraid of female clothing. It is a bit of a footnote in here, but we do still have this interesting sort of trend of this is what a woman should look like, and that is not always the case. And it definitely is a bit of an issue for me when you have like, oh, well, she's some kind of high-class female warrior. It's like, well, why doesn't she have armor, and why does her armor consist of a tank top and a belly button ring? Unless it's enchanted, and then it becomes like Symbionic Titan, more armor, I'm concerned that she's not safe. Good on this? So fun fact, women can be friends with women. And if you actually know Bleach, you know this is not a cat fight, they're sparring because they want to get stronger. There is this sort of almost innate desire to write female characters together as being kind of catty and always competing for something, usually a guy. You can have friendships with other female characters, and it doesn't have to be catty or backbitey. It doesn't have to be like the Ashleys from Recess. I know that's a really old reference. Or like Mean Girls, where it's just a bunch of women who are like catty and terrible and backbitey. That's just not the case. I have plenty of female friends, and we talk about like philosophy and politics and cookie dough. We have very complex conversations sometimes, so it is completely okay for women to be friends with women. That is not to say that your female character should not necessarily have a rival, but you don't need to put one on a pedestal while trashing all of the others. Think kind of like how Naruto did, where you're supposed to really, really Hime Sakura, but then to hell with everyone else. But then we had the Hime Hinata, and then to hell with all the other people around her. See where I'm kind of going with that? Questions on that? Your character can be more than a princess. There is definitely an interesting idea that to show any kind of strength or honor that you must be a princess as a female, and that is going away, especially I love like with Star Wars and with Wonder Woman, and it's like, nope, not a princess, I'm a general. And I'm in love with that. I am utterly in love with that. I don't quite want it ever to become token, because those things are of rank and they're important, but there are ways to show rank, importance, and value other than she is the princess of blah blah made up land of blah blah fan service and blah blah revealing clothing. Sound good? Yay. You guys can ask me questions. I'm not offended by it. So age is more than just a number. We do also tend to get a lot of female characters that stop around like 20. Like women stop existing around 20, 21, and I guess they die for a little while, and then they hit 40 when they can be fetishized again. So you can have characters that range in a certain level. I also put this as a note, and this is definitely true still in manga, that you have a female character who is like 16, but her male is like 20 something, and it's like, eh. It just reads occasionally a little bit uncomfortable. So if you're going to go out of your way to say this is a teen series, kind of keep everyone in teen land, or don't be afraid to have older characters. I do love that there are some series that are branching out and having older characters. As someone who is kind of older, it is nice to be able to have someone who on screen is around my age, because it is weird, like, wow, I really connect with this high school senior. I guess I'm gonna go pay my car note now. So that is kind of nice. Don't be afraid of that. And again, it's an issue of complexity, because I do think it's very easy to write a 16-year-old. I'm an average 16-year-old girl. That's simple, but it is difficult sometimes to wrap your head around what a woman looks like at 20, what she looks like at 30, and what she'll look like at 40. Because hell, I don't know. Good on that? Yes.
As for like your example on like manga, for instance.
Sure.
I know that the age difference actually is fairly common in Japan.
Yeah.
So do you recommend, if we're trying to make it like more of a realistic like relationship, that we do research into what the age differences are normal in that area?
Yeah, I love that. And actually, I have no issue against, I'm not age shaming anyone, but it's an issue of, if you're going to do that, do it intentionally, as opposed to just you want to keep this woman frozen in time forever because you're afraid of what she'll look like when she gets older. I think that's more of my concern with it. There's this sort of fetishization of like 15 to like 19, especially in women, that it's like, I'm afraid to touch you past that point. We'll kind of Cinderella freeze you in time a little bit. So yeah, I actually love that idea of doing research, because you're right, that is fairly common. But again, if you're going to do it for authentic reasons. Maybe have it be a plot point. I know in any relationship that I had where there is a substantial age difference, it's been a problem. If you're going to do that with purpose. That makes sense? Yay. So let's have a slightly comfortable conversation about diversity. This is an interesting example because this pairing was first kind of created for fan service, and then it became not fan service, which was nice. I was happy to have that. It is occasionally difficult to write female characters that are of a certain type or orientation without fetishizing it. And I use that word a lot, but again, that's unfortunately a bit of the issue with it. If you want a character that is a lesbian, that's fine. I encourage it. Diversity is great. That should not be her only character trait. This is not the L word or queer as folk. Your character trait should not be gay. So diversity is wonderful. Have characters of color. Have characters across the entire spectrum of orientations and gender identities. I would definitely encourage you to do your research. If you have friends that are of similar orientations or lifestyles, talk to them. And again, skin color, orientation, identity should never be a defining character trait. It can be a part of who they are, but I am definitely more than my skin tone. I certainly hope that I am. I certainly hope that all of you are more than your respective skin colors. I am more than my orientation, as I hope that you all are as well. Does that make sense? Do you have questions about that? Or yes?
As it was brought up, like I guess like the Harry Potter series, for instance, and Hermione not ever being mentioned as being a certain like diversity.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good idea to do in books, to where you don't necessarily label character as being a certain?
I think that's fine actually, because you do sort of in your mind's eye have a default that you imagine as being. So when people kind of ruffle their feathers about Hermione's like, well, they never said she was white. It's like, well, I mean, I imagined her as that way, but I also respect if you imagine her as not that way. So opinions. I think it's fine. Again, I actually would honestly prefer it that way. If you don't do like what the Hunger Games did, where they like use 15 different words for brown to describe that one poor girl. That's not necessary. You don't need to call that much attention to it. That's where it starts getting into the sort of weird, like, thank you for using 13 different colors to describe one particular shade, and it's really only done for characters of color. We don't discuss white characters as being like, her skin was a lovely ivory. his face was a handsome off eggshell. We don't do that for other characters. We really only do that for characters of color, and that for a person of color is a little questionable occasionally when you have a paragraph that is like, and her skin as rich and mocha as the darkest of coffees. It's like, you could have just said she went to the mall. You could have just said she wanted to go to Chick-fil-A. I didn't need 13 paragraphs about how brown she is. I had to go get the Pantone book and get out a color swatch to figure it out, because none of those browns that you described are the same brown. You get it? Is that making sense to you guys? Questions, comments, concerns? I love that we're kind of breezing through this, because then that means we get to have fun Q&A time. Be active and not passive. If you guys were in my panel on Friday, I said this and I made a really big deal out of it as well. When you have characters that the plot happens to, rather than them moving the plot, that's when you get the kind of princess or a Hime from Bleach, Kagome from Inuyasha sort of thing of, I just sort of fell into this story and oh no, look what happened to me. No, let them be active movers of their own plot. I use Miss Hungary in this instance because she literally has moved manga pages on her own saying we're going to skip this part and move on to the next one. Definitely encourage being active. Not to say that having a passive female character is completely bad. For some instances that's very valid and needed. You are going to have characters that are meeker, that are quiet, that don't necessarily want to move the plot. But for your main, the plot should not be happening to her. She should have an active role in her own story. Does that make sense? Yay! Perfection is ridiculously overrated. She can have flaws, guys. She can swear. She can have really bad habits. She can do just about anything. Now, if you're worried about her then not being endearing, then you've already taken it too far, and that's a storytelling issue that is a bigger problem. But flaws are great. One of the biggest issues of why sometimes it's difficult to relate to female characters is that they're so goddamn perfect. I don't think Kagome ever had a bad day, and the times that she did, they were stupid. It's like, I'm upset at this boy who's upset at me. It's like, well, at 14 and 15, I had more pressing concerns, like being an honor student and worrying about my family and being worried about school and other things. Not this boy who clearly doesn't want me but kind of wants me. Don't be afraid to give her certain flaws. Don't demonize her. Don't go full on Lilith and just make her this evil, bat creature full of darkness. But perfection can definitely wait. Cool with that? Yay. So we're at conclusion, guys. We burned through this a little bit, but you know what that means? It means we get to talk for a little while, and I really, really enjoy that. We have barely scratched the surface on this, and that actually makes me very, very happy, because that means I get to do this again. Let's definitely have conversations about female characters that are complex, that are active, and that are attentive in their own series, and I believe that all of you guys can do that. So, we have some recommended reading for you guys. You're welcome to take pictures of this. I will also post this on Tumblr probably tomorrow night. So take lots of pictures or notes. I've actually read most of these, and I can't say that any of them are bad. They're all great places to start. You got it? Yay. So we're going to move into questions, but really fast. These are all of my social media links if you want to continue the conversation. I definitely do encourage that, and I love it. I absolutely love having these conversations. I don't mind sort of breezing through the main presentation a little bit, because that means that we get to talk, and I think you grow so much more as writers and fans by letting me kind of come off of the stage and having a discussion with you guys than me parroting facts at you for 20 minutes, Hi! You got here at the best part, the open Q&A. Before I forget, I do have a Gmail account for reviews, also the A-Kon guidebook app for reviews as well. This is YouTube channel, which this video will probably go up sometime next week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a review somewhere. I do not grow and learn as a panelist journalist without your feedback. So, we have some time. Let's answer some questions. Yes?
Do you believe it's a big problem in writing today that they kind of like negate violence against women? Like it's either like they like later the character doesn't care about it as much, or it's not taken as seriously as it should. Like there's never like police involvement or anything in the storylines. Like they just don't care. Do you think that's a big problem?
I do think it's a bit of a problem. I think there's a very fine line to toe if you want to portray that kind of thing, because it is something that does tend to get over-sexualized really fast, like a la Killing Joke a little bit, if you don't do it with a certain level of nuance. But I do think it is a problem that, again, we take women as a bit of an appropriation thing, that nothing bad ever happens to them. And when bad things do happen to them, suddenly then they're negated from main character status because of it. And as someone with a less than ideal past in childhood, that frustrates me a little bit, that because my childhood wasn't idyllic, does that mean that I could never be a main character? Does that mean that I would always have to be secondary or third because I didn't have great patches in my life? So it is problematic, but it is also an issue of nuance as well, because I wouldn't at the same time then want it to be this over-sexualized sort of glorification of violence against women, which does occasionally tend to happen from less skilled writers, if that answers your question. Anything else? Yes?
You mentioned writing active female characters instead of passive female characters. I have difficulty with writing active characters in general, male or female. Can you advise on some good ways of making the protagonists more proactive? Because right now, all of my movers and shakers are the villains.
Right, and that does tend to be a problem. I tend to do the same thing, that all of my greatest characters are antagonistic. Basically, it's an issue of where the plot is going and how they're getting there. You can have slight passivity in moments, especially depending on what genre you're writing. You are going to have a lot of, oh, well, the plot sort of fell to me. It's what you do after that. It's being able to take that then and run with it. It's, okay, the MacGuffin fell out of the sky, now I'm going to do something with it. I'm going to use Death Note as an example, where literally the MacGuffin fell out of the sky, but Light chose to pick it up. He then became an active agent in his own story, because he could have ignored it. He could have left it behind, he could have picked it up and then just left it in his drawer and actually, been a normal person. But he looked at this, briefly paused, and then said, well, I guess I'm a god now, and then went on and became really an active agent of his own story, even though the start of it was purely passive. Ryuk wasn't trying to find him, it just happened. Or in any case, let's make this about female characters again, Misa sort of had that problem a little bit too, where she started off a bit as a passive agent, as an agent of Light, and then in moments did become very active. When Light wasn't doing anything, it was, well, I guess I'm Kira now. And she briefly took over the series, which was nice if she would have a less annoying voice actress. But it was nice. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Phenomenal. Let's keep it moving. Yes.
So I was wondering if you had any advice for writing the female character. I guess I'm asking if there's any advice for developing a romantic relationship without making the female character like stereotypical dance or something.
So I actually love that you asked that question, because I think every relationship I've been in has started with something anime-ish. My second boyfriend and I met because we were at the Texas Junior Classics League for Latin, and we were both in the gladiatorial games, and we were sparring against each other, and I beat him. I had him pinned under a foam sword, and he looked up at me and he said, marry me. So not everything will happen as this grand anime-esque or on High School Host Club, woman falls out of sky. In those instances, look at your real personal life. Look at your history of relationships. Look at your friends. Love is awkward and strange and usually does not take a linear path, and it's usually not pretty or seductive, and it's a lot of dry heaving and running away from people. So it goes back to the first slide, which I'm sorry, I think you missed, was just imagine human beings complexly. Imagine the female characters complexly. Imagine love complexly. This isn't, Moulin Rouge where you say love 50 times but you don't know what it means. Does that help you a little bit? Yes.
Just a comment to add on that. If you need something for a good reference or to see a good written one, Mercy Thompson's series by Patricia Briggs, it's a whole bunch of what we've been talking about in different spectrums, and it's really, really well written. So her relationships are really good. The way she portrays her Native American characters are good.
Oh, good.
And she has an excellent portrayal of a gay parent in the book. Like, it's the best portrayal of a gay couple that I've ever seen written.
Phenomenal. Yay. Yes.
I recently finished reading the Sword Truth series,
Mm-hmm.
and I really enjoyed the female character, the female lead.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened is after the male character went on his own journey and then became more about the female character,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like she started overshadowing the other female characters.
Mm-hmm.
How would you avoid that situation where when your female character steps into a more active role, how do you prevent her from basically taking over everything and not letting other female characters come through?
If the other characters are sort of extra, I don't think that's necessarily bad. I made a Star Wars reference last panel, and I'll make it again. Think of the way Rey sort of takes over in Force Awakens. It's not necessarily bad then that she overshadows technically other female characters, or other characters in general. It's good. She's supposed to. Now, if it's an issue of these people are all kind of meant to be on the same plane, then just make sure that you're giving kind of equal attention to them. It's sort of a campy example, but think of sort of Avatar: The Last Airbender when you get to the fire arc. And it's like, no, everyone got to go on a wonderful adventure with Zuko and I haven't yet. It's sort of treated like that if you're worried about a character not getting enough time, enough screen time, without making it too obvious, maybe it's time to give them a little bit of a run. You know what I mean? Anything else? We still have lots of time. Come on, guys. This is great. Yes.
I did have a comment about
Sure.
the friendship thing.
Yeah.
Because the way friendships are written with women,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like we're not allowed to have friendships at all.
Yes.
And that's not feasible, guys.
It's
You
not.
all know women, you're all friends with women. Why the hell would you do that to one of your friends?
Right. No, it's definitely true, and I think it's one of the big reasons why I kind of avoided Sojo a little bit, was that it had this idea that, like, women could not be friends. That you were all either fighting over one boy in particular, like there were no other boys in that school, or you were this weird girl gang of just violent anger. And that just didn't click with me. I had female friends that we talked about everything, diverse tastes, and we, agreed and we disagreed, but we were never mean like that, and we never argued over just one thing. I have fought with people over potato chips. I can't think of the last time I fought with someone over a human being.
Well, it's not even just that, Ian, because we're also not allowed to be friends with men.
True.
Literature.
Yeah.
So, according to how most books are written, a female character only has the friend of the main character.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's not how relationships work in real life. If you want to make believable female characters, you have to build the relationships around them too.
I agree. No, I mean, it's very much a good point. Again, like, I look at my personal life, and I have a lot of guy friends that are completely platonic. I could never imagine that I would suddenly, if this turned into Pokemon, that we could not be friends anymore. That breaks my heart a little bit, and I can't imagine a world where you look at a female and you immediately stifle her because she has to fit a certain mold, that she cannot have a platonic relationship with a guy, that she'll be so distracted by her ovaries that she must mate with this one individual, and that she will then shun every other female around her to get to this person. Yes.
On another note, I don't necessarily think that all of that need to be okay with that lifestyle,
Yeah.
or that they're not okay with it, like with some balance.
Right, it doesn't give them a meaningful arc, because yeah, there's definitely times of your life where you're probably not making a lot of friends and you are a little bit more closed off, you are a little more cloistered. But if you don't give any context to that, if there is no arc for that, then it does seem to be a little bit unnecessary, I think is a word to use for it. But I completely get where you're going with that. Anything else? Yes?
several different ideas in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I have several female main characters that I'm working with. One in particular, she is sort of like a space pirate,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes around. She does these people atrocities, all for the sake of money and everything else. But yet she has a tender side. She cares for her group, only the people she deems worthy of her time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also another facet. She likes to fight. She likes battle.
Mm-hmm.
Everything like that. But there's only one character that she comes in contact with. She falls in love with because he has potential to be her rival. How do I balance that out without making her some sort of weird trope that she is really out of me and that she has to control it?
So I've heard 3 tropes in that already. I think what you're really going to have to do is show a little bit of a power play. I think it's going to be important to build a genuine sort of relationship between these two, because I think it'd be too easy to say, and the man comes in and dominates everything.
No,
But yeah,
really
and I wouldn't want that for you.
okay, I
So,
really
yeah.
heard it kind of dominating it.
And so my advice to you then would be, again, build a genuine sort of connection. There has to be a reason why they're doing this. There has to be some sort of commonality and a purpose for them to even interact, because you have that a lot with these very sort of forced pairings. If we want to go back to Naruto, how he shunned Hinata for like 15 seasons, and suddenly, oh, well, I guess I have to marry you at the end, so I guess you need to become main character now? And how rushed and forced and awkward and terrible that was. You want to avoid that. So spend time with these characters. Let them spend time with each other. That will be one of the main ways that they grow on each other, or they don't. Also understand that maybe you've written a situation that might be incompatible, and you might have to kind of go back to the drawing board and move some things around, you know? Yes, we'll do 1 and 1.
Okay, I wanted to write a book that involved, like, in a sense, like, rape or sexual violence and how a character overcomes it. How do you address that topic without, 1, making the character seem like a damsel in distress, and 2, making it too difficult for people who've gone through similar situations to read?
That's a very good question. I think I'll address the second part first. I don't think that you'll be able to do that unless you do preface it a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of trigger warnings, but that might be one of those rare instances where that might not be terrible, because I wouldn't want someone to go into this and to, have to drudge back all of those negative feelings. As far as how you go about actually doing that, it's difficult. There was a great article on Broadly about why women especially like Law and Order SVU, because they call it justice porn, that only in this fictionalized New York that the police listen, that they answer, that these cases are solved, and there's usually one unilateral bad guy. I do think it is remarkably difficult to capture that. I think if you start off by humanizing it and making it an issue of this is bad and we shouldn't ever glorify it, but it is unfortunately a thing that happens in this world. We don't want to erase negativity. Violence against women does happen, and pretending like it doesn't make it go away. However, it is a sensitive subject, and I wouldn't want anyone to think that you're either trying to be exploitative or that you're just intentionally trying to start a flame war. So I think nuance, context, and just being honest with your readers and with yourself about why and what you're doing, I think will probably help that out a lot. Is that good advice?
Yeah.
Yes, love.
Descriptions, when you're describing, I know a lot of, when I'm reading a lot of different, like, male writers, when you're talking about women, there's a lot of focus on their body.
Yes.
So, I struggle with wanting to paint a picture, but trying not to, sexualize.
Right.
And a lot of what you read kind of turns into that.
Right.
Where do you find that balance between, like, obviously I'm not sitting there talking about an integral footage showing through the shirt, like, because it's cold outside. There's,
Right.
there's a clear line there, but when you're describing someone and when you're introducing them, kind of your character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, how do you try to be, I'm afraid of like being too afraid.
Right. Where it's like, this is a sackcloth.
Yeah,
That
exactly. I'm afraid of, being too
blank.
Yeah, like
Right.
I also don't want it to be like this, ridiculous.
Sure.
Like that's eating, that kind of like ridiculous.
That's always my favorite when they go into like her chest the size of 2 uneven cantaloupes. It's like, wow, that was a very specific image that you have planted in my head. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The way that I usually go about that is, what then does that character value about herself? When I'm describing my female characters, there's one that I have where she very much values that she dresses well. So the descriptions of her are, she is wearing Dior and Michael Kors, and she looks like a Christian Siriano model. Those are what I use to describe her because that's how she would describe herself. So she is one where she would really focus on her battle acumen or her sword or something like that. Think of it again like male characters. Tsubasa has that example of Kurogane, where his whole character arc is being tall and having a sword. Guess what? Those are the things you focus on. Treat it the same way for your female characters. Whatever then she values about herself will then sort of help you describe her. If it's her hair, if it's her eyes, if it is her body, because occasionally you will have characters that want to sexualize themselves. Panty Anarchy from Panty and Stocking with Carter Bell. You will have characters that are very aware of themselves and are down with that and want you to know them by their cup size and things like that. So I would do that. Sit down with this character in a non-sociopathic way and figure out how they then would want to be described. What is of value to that individual? Next. Yes? Oh, it's okay. Don't be shy, guys. If you have questions, it's okay. Yes?
I read the new 52 Wonder Woman recently,
Yeah.
and I was wondering, you've read that for one, and if you think it's good, what are your opinion on it if you've read it?
So the answer is yes. I'm actually a huge comic book fan.
Well, I really enjoy how she's extremely powerful and she's fighting all the time. But at the same time, like when she interacts with Hades and with Keith, she's like, or Hermes, sorry, she's like, I can still love you. I accept you for you are what you've done. Like the art doesn't work because I love you already.
Yeah.
I guess like including what she wants, how she wants to display herself, and then she's still ready to fight like one moment.
Right, and I've always loved Wonder Woman as a character. I haven't seen the movie yet, but she was a character literally created out of feminism and bondage. So I've always loved how she's written, and I think the New 52 is doing a fine way of handling it. Only thing I don't like is that they did kind of take her relationship with Superman out of it, and I did really enjoy that relationship of, if they decided they could destroy the world, guys. Like, if they got married and really decided they could become gods of this new world, and I was down for that. I was down for that injustice storyline to happen. But I think New 52 Wonder Woman is great. And I'd also definitely encourage you, if you haven't, Veronica Cruz, who is the current Green Lantern right now, is lovely if you have not picked her up. Anything else? Yeah. Can you speak up a little, darling?
Okay, so I've been struggling with trying to write an antagonistic female character.
Ooh.
Main character being written just requested more traditionally what the villain would do. I guess I've been struggling with how to make her more actually balance between like general more antagonistic traits versus actually enduring I'm not a sociopath. Like I'd be willing to kill you for my own gain, but at the same time I don't want to slaughter that village just for wolves.
Right.
So it's a good way to balance between those two, so make it be realistic and not completely associated.
So I think in those instances, again, it's about what then would be on par for the rest of the work. Is if that isn't out of character for that person, then it's maybe okay to do that. I do think it's a little bit easy to try to like make a villain endearing somehow, or an antagonist. You didn't quite say a villain. If you still have to make her endearing, then yeah, keep the stakes on par with the rest of the work. If destroying an entire village is not in that character, well then don't do it. But if it is, run with it, no second thoughts, scorched earth kind of thing. And if you want a really, really fantastic, interesting example of that is actually Dragon Ball Z with the androids, where you have this sort of like turn to, well, we have this programming, but that one's kind of cute, and that's okay, I guess. So that's actually a very, very interesting way to look at it. I wish there were more genuine female villains and antagonists. If they are a rival, it's usually over like cake or a human being. So I do love the idea of having more like just villainous antagonistic women. So run with that and do it. We'll do one and then one. So yes.
On that note, I recommend if somebody's trying to look for like a good way of doing an antagonist type villain character, watching a TV show called Dark Matter. It's about some characters that actually lose their memory, and then they find out that they've done all these horrible things, and they have to like deal with the consequences.
Right.
You also get a look at like who they were before, and one of the characters happened to be like the leader, and she was really angry and aggressive because of things that happened. Which, like, I mean, she was really evil, but at the same time, she had a reasoning for it.
Right.
And then it also shows the complexity of her having to go back and decide whether or not she's going to be that same person.
Right, and actually, I would encourage you then to look at history a little bit as well. That you have these really, really interesting stories of like female serial killers and stuff. Belle Gaines is a great example to look at. She was a woman who was beautiful and also strong, and conservatively probably killed about 20 people. So doing a lot of research, I mentioned this in Friday's panel. If you want to write a female villain or you want to write a female antagonist, look to either historical sources or other series that you like. They typically have it. Harry Potter has a great one in Bellatrix Lestrange, where it's like, wow, you are a scary devil woman, but I still kind of like you because you're Helena Bonham Carter. Yes, darling.
So, if I not to write the design, design characters and characters, would that ever be too sexualized?
I think if you take away anything from this, it's be true to the character. And be true also to the scenario. Again, if you are on a spelunking expedition, you are not going in a tank top and cutaway shorts. That's just not happening. That's how you get dysentery. So be true to the scenario of what you're writing. If you're writing a Hunger Games-y kind of thing, I'm sorry, you're not going to look good. But simultaneously, if it is a character who is attuned with their sexuality and with their body, yeah, they're going to wear a mini skirt that probably is more like underwear. So just be true to the story and be true to the character. And as far as design, never do what doesn't feel good for you. I'm a cosplayer first and foremostly, so I'm very much used to having to look at a female character like, I don't want to show that much boob today. And like putting a jacket on or something. Just stay true to you. If you don't personally feel comfortable with a character that is super out and out, don't do it. No one's going to shame you for that. And if they do, they can, do terrible things. I don't know where I was going with that. Anything else? Yes?
How would you get the character trauma has to have it in a way where it doesn't fully control her, but it still affects her even years after that?
So you might have to do a little bit of an exposition dump where she brings it up at least once. Yeah, definitely don't go full having flashbacks all the time to that one terrible night. Again, don't go full Rey from Force Awakens or just constant all the time. Or even Jen really is a better example of that. Just all the time, constant flashbacks. Yes, I get it, your childhood sucked. Can we go back to killing robots, please? Just build it authentically. If it's not, like I said, I had a not great childhood. I don't talk about it every day. I don't bring it up. I'm not at dinner with my friends. Hey, remember that time my dad died? If you wouldn't do that in real life, your character probably wouldn't do that either. And especially when it comes to trauma and bad situations, guess what? You usually don't talk about it. You don't casually bring up, hey, yeah, remember that time that my entire village was slaughtered? You don't. And when you do, guess what? If you watch it in the series, it feels weird, doesn't it? It feels really, really weird when it's just, yeah, let's go back to that horrible, horrible time every single time we're at this one particular place. I'd like to move on. So, that answer your question?
Yeah.
I can take a couple more probably. Anything else? Yes.
Start out offline. No, me too. I really enjoyed the character development in the first part, how strong, how much of a fighter.
Everyone says that.
But again, I couldn't continue after basically what happened. She becomes a housewife.
Yeah.
Is that? I just want to know if that's more of a I can't think of the word. Is it true character development, or is it just we wrote her off to be this other trope to go along with the main character?
I think they created a Kobayashi Maru situation where she genuinely sort of outshone her main, and writers can either then dumb that character down, or they can embrace it and run with it. Bleach had a similar issue occasionally with Rukia and Orihime, where they were vastly more interesting than Ichigo ever was. So then guess what Orihime had to become? Exactly.
My friend enjoyed it for again that she was a fighter, but
Right.
had the capacity to become.
Sure.
Like she's done with fighting, I just want to be with him. I think I think.
No, and I genuinely cannot stand that. I hate when a woman's character development stops because of a boy, and that's just poor storytelling. That's, you create a situation where your female character is more engaging and more interesting than your male, and instead of just running with it and dealing with it, you were then scared by it and had to turn her into nothing. And that's disappointing to me. And it's happened again more than once. Anime is full of female characters that had to be taken down because, well, suddenly she can't outshine the main, so let's lock you up in this tower and you can cook breakfast. No worries. Anything else? Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. We're wrapping up a little bit early, but it is very early on a Sunday. I'll hang around a little bit because I still have this room for a while, so if you want to come up, chat, anything, I am more than happy to talk with you guys. Thank you so much for coming, and again, if you want to leave me any feedback, anything like that, the A-Kon guidebook app is great, or my Gmail account for this. Thank you guys so much for showing up, and yeah, I'll be hanging around for a little bit.